if you could spend 15 to 20 grand and own your own lead generation agency, would that be a good deal? Like, would that perk your eyes? Would that get you excited? Right?
Yeah.
If you buy a lead gen agency right now, a successful one, right? That's turning out, high quality appointments left and right. You're telling me you could buy one for 20 grand? No, of course not, right? You're going to buy a company for 20 grand. You're going to buy a company minimum for $250,000, maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million plus, right? You're looking at 1 to 2 years worth of net revenue, of net earnings, right? So there's an opportunity to literally have us build you a successful, fully managed, operational, beautiful call center at a fraction, at a tenth of that price. So that's why I say it's like, people talk about value. I hope that people's eyes are opening to see, well, shit, that's a really good value.
Welcome to the HVAC Hotshots, the podcast where HVAC entrepreneurs like you learn to dominate your market and build multi-million-dollar empires. Every week, we bring you proven strategies, expert insights, and inspiring stories from industry leaders who have been in the trenches and come out on top. Whether you are just starting out or scaling up, this is your go-to resource to ignite your business goal. So buckle up, hotshot. It's time to turn up the heat and make your HVAC dreams a reality. Hey guys, welcome to 13th episode of the HVAC Hotshots. In this one, we have got Peter. Hey Peter, good to have you on, man. How's everything going?
It's good, man. Good. How about you?
Pretty good. So I'll just start with a quick introduction about you. If you could just let audience know, what you do and since how long you've been into the industry and all those stuff.
Yeah. So I actually got started in the HVAC industry back in around 2017, 18. My partner and I, who became really close friends, he convinced me to get into it. I knew absolutely nothing about HVAC. I barely knew how to turn the temperature up or down in my house. That was about the extent of my knowledge of HVAC at the time. And he made me a proposition that, he was going to be the wrench turner. He was going to do all the blue collar stuff. And he wanted me to be run the sales and marketing side of things and build it up from scratch. And so I went in with absolutely no prior knowledge whatsoever and just had to figure things out along the way. So obviously there's a lot more detail in there, but there's kind of a quick recap.
Interesting. So, getting into the part of call center and all the stuff that you mainly do. So I came across what you're doing in the call center space for trades. And, this is something no one's really talking about in the HVAC world. And I for sure I could say that it's a critical piece, especially when leads are flying in during summer season, right? And businesses just aren't picking up a recall at the moment. So yeah, let me start with something basic. At what point do you think it makes sense to build a proper call center setup instead of just having someone at the front desk answer all the calls?
That's a good question. I do think that, someone needs to have the financial means in order to do that, because doing a proper call center, look, let me say this, there's a million definitions of what a call center is, right? In different industries, it can be called the setter closer model, right? The setter closer, if that person's making phone calls, that's a miniature call center. Right? Having a VA who works for you, even overseas, having a VA making phone. Anytime someone's making outbound calls, you've got yourself a miniature call center, right? Now,
yeah,
that's a loose term, right? To really call it a call center, you're probably talking about, an operation with more than 3, 4, 5 agents in it, and there's a pretty well-oiled machine. So when is it the right time? I think it's the right time when, number one, when it's within your financial budget, and not that it's so expensive, because it's not. But more importantly, you really do have to have systems set up for it. So you have to have the proper number of sales reps who can take those appointments and service them properly. And we can talk about that too, because I think that's a hugely overlooked conversation when it comes to this. I do get some smaller companies that contact me and want to get a call center built up, but they don't have the operations set up yet to really handle it. So they'll get the influx of appointments coming in, and they don't really know how to handle them properly. So let's come back and we can talk about that. But to finish answering your question, the right time is almost any time. As long as you've got a few extra bucks put aside, the right time is almost any time, because, I think one of the most important questions I think a company can ask is, why? Why should I build out a call center? Maybe not when, but why should I build out a call center? Is it okay if I answer that question?
Yeah, that's an interesting stuff.
Okay. So in HVAC, right, which I'm very familiar with because I owned an HVAC company for many years before we sold it. In HVAC, what I have noticed is that there's this overwhelming trend towards using shared lead generation sites like Angie, right? And Angie, and some people make it work, right? So I'm not completely bad mouthing it, because I definitely know people who make it work for sure. But my question to them is why bother? Like, why are you messing around with something that is so built up to work against you, right? You're dealing with other competitors vying for the same lead. So why do that? There are other alternatives out there that are, in fact, way cheaper and much less headache involved. So the question of why is, to me, a super simple one, because it's like, well, why are you messing around with shared leads when you can have 100% exclusive leads? So that's number one. Like, why share when you can be exclusive? And number two is, why pay retail, right? Why pay some other company a profit? Because they got to make money too. Why pay a company a profit when you can very well become your own lead generation company and take all of those lead generation efforts in-house and start booking appointments at wholesale? So to me, it's a no-brainer. And to everyone that I talk to, once they kind of, once they sort of see that slapping them in the face, they're like, well, why the hell haven't I thought about that first? So I think that's one of the most important things is like, why do it? Why? Because why share and why pay retail? Because you can be owning the lead generation process in-house. And the best part is with a call center is that you can scale. Scaling is super easy. Scaling is real hard with other things. I can talk your ear off about how hard it is to scale with like Facebook ads and all the problems that come with running, whether it's Meta, Google, YouTube, whatever, you name it. There's so many problems that come with it. One of the biggest ones being that the moment someone clicks on your ad, they're probably going to get hit with 50 other ads just like it. And now, once again, it's no longer exclusive because they're clicking on all these other ads. So you can avoid all these pitfalls with a call center. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, you deal with the acquisition side of things. You use call center, or let's just say that you use that setup to acquire more clients, or is it also for for inbound calls that you're getting in the company?
Sure. That's a really good question. Yeah, you can absolutely do it for both. And I do get people who ask that question. Now, our main focus is on the outbound lead generation side of things, because that's what converts into cash, right? Like, I want people to have a quick win. I want people to make money doing this thing, right? And so that's the quickest way to do it, is to start generating new leads that you didn't otherwise have. The ones that are already coming to you, those are great. I mean, those are fantastic. I'm certainly not bad. Now, that's the best source of leads you're ever going to get, is organic inbound. But that's really hard to scale. I think everyone who's in any business, it doesn't matter if it's HVAC or any business, we all know that organic inbound is the best, without question. I'm not arguing that point at all. Of course, that's the best. It's also the hardest to acquire. It's the hardest to scale. It's like wizardry, trying to solve the Google SEO algorithm, mystery out there. So, people have specialized and been doing it for decades, and they can't even seem to figure it out. And when they do, Google just changes it with the next update, and then you're back to square one again. So
Makes sense. So, I just want to talk a bit about having your own guy, doing the outbound calling versus, maybe hiring someone like you, to get that setup done. Let's say if someone's paying maybe $4,000 a month in house or something along that line, how does your model compare cost wise? Is it cheaper, or is it more on the efficient side of thing?
it's almost always cheaper. That's the interesting part. And for good reason, right? It's like, because we know what the hell we're doing. And so we know how to do it efficiently and effectively. And so, yes, there's an upfront cost, right? You got to pay us to do all that for you. It's not that crazy expensive. Usually our call center builds generally started around 15,000. And this is for a fully built out managed operation. So like, I'm not talking anything, this isn't like a beginner operation. This is a full-fledged call center operation. But the good news is, most companies are seeing an ROI, are seeing that payback period in less than a month. So, and I want that for all my clients. I obsess over making sure that my clients get their money back in record time, because I want the good reviews. I want the good word of mouth. I want people spreading the gospel, how good of a work we're doing. I don't want them dragging out that payback period to months or years. I want it happening in the first month. My promise to everybody is, the reason why I do this is because I don't want you making the same stupid mistakes that I made, because I made all of them. Because when I got started in the call center space, there was nobody like me. There was no consultants. There was nothing of that variety. So I had to figure it out all on my own. I had to, the few people who were kind of doing that thing in secrecy, because all of them were doing it in secrecy, right? Because when you got something that works, you don't go run around sharing it with everybody, right? You hoard it and keep it to yourself. People always joke about abundancy mindset. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool on paper, but when someone really has something that's working really well, they're not going around advertising it. No, they're hoarding it for themselves. If they're advertising it, it's probably worthless for the most part, right? So that's what I promise to my clients is that I'm going to save you the years of headaches and the years of losses that I had to sustain. So what took me 3 years, I can get you in 3 months. Here's my promise to everybody. I'll make you profitable in month 1. No questions asked there. You'll be profitable in month number 1. You'll be making a third of the full boat, right? So we go through and we do a full financial analysis as to what the financial picture is going to look like running a call center. I always tell people by month 3, you'll be at full speed. Month 1 will be a third. Month 2 will be 2/3 of the full boat, and month 3 will be full boat. So that's my promise to everyone. That's the worst case scenario. I've almost never seen it happen that way. It's usually always better, but that's my, setting of expectations for clients.
Since that sounds really interesting, but would you be willing to share some numbers around the pricing and range of it? I know it would really depend on how big the company is, but if you have some range for that.
My average client spends about $20,000. There you go. I don't try to hide that. I'm not one of those weird sales guys that tries to hide the number until I talk your ear off for an hour. No, I'll just come out and say it. Why? Because I'm actually confident in what we do. I actually know that what we do is priced incredibly fairly. We provide a tremendous amount of value for our price, right? And what is value, right? Value is what you get. Price is what you pay. I want people to feel like they get tremendous value for the price that they pay. So I'm not afraid to talk about it. So our pricing starts, as I already mentioned to you before you even asked the question, right? We started about $15,000 for a smaller type of build out, but that's fully managed. You're getting everything. It's just, a smaller number of agents. But I've got clients who are spending $40,000 to $60,000. Then I've got a couple clients who spend north of $100,000. But no, I think the average is,
And that's a month, right?
No. That's just to get everything built, to build out a whole call. Monthly is a good question. Monthly, I think typically we're looking at for a smaller build out, typically in HVAC. HVAC is a little bit actually less expensive to operate. Could be as low as about $5,000-$6,000 a month to operate a fully fledged managed call center, all in, all costs included. So it's much more affordable than people think. So, I always joke around. It's like, dude, if you could spend 15 to 20 grand and own your own lead generation agency, would that be a good deal? Like, would that perk your eyes? Would that get you excited? Rather, if you buy a lead gen agency right now, a successful one, right? That's turning out, high quality appointments left and right. You're telling me you could buy one for 20 grand? No, of course not, right? You're going to buy a company for 20 grand. You're going to buy a company minimum for $250,000, maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million plus, right? You're looking at 1 to 2 years worth of net revenue, of net earnings, right? So there's an opportunity to literally have us build you a successful, fully managed, operational, beautiful call center at a fraction, at a tenth of that price. So that's why I say it's like, people talk about value. I hope that people's eyes are opening to see, well, shit, that's a really good value.
Nice. Do you have any approximate number around the average lead acquisition cost in the HVAC industry based on your data?
I do. Yep. So we're typically seeing companies get pre-booked appointments as low as even $40 to $50. I've got clients right now who are booking pre-booked in-home appointments for as low as $40 to $50. Depends on the marketplace. It depends on the level of competition. I rarely ever see it exceed 100. Right. So that's the question you got to ask yourself is like, I hope this is an obvious one to people listening, but like, are you willing to pay $50 to get in the home? Seems kind of like a no-brainer, right? $50 to get your foot in the door. Hell, even if only 1 out of 3 closes, that's $150 cost per acquisition. You want to pay $150 to acquire a new customer? What's the lifetime value of that customer worth to you? Should be a no-brainer.